I cannot find my car. Hey, what's going on, folks? I am seriously trying to find my car. Okay, there we go. I see it now. I didn't realize I parked this far away. Should pay attention to these fucking signs. I got out of class at a decent time today. This is actually my shortest day, but I'm getting out a little bit later than I usually do. Because I went to advising to go talk to go see where my credits are and to you know find out who my advisor is and that sort of thing, stuff you're supposed to do. Yes, I'm gonna talk a little bit about my education, about what's going on. So if you don't want to hear about what I'm doing or what I was doing over the last few hours, probably skip ahead maybe an hour, because I'm gonna talk about this for a while. Hands free, I'm driving. Not gonna be looking at the fucking fuck. Not gonna be looking at the phone. That thing. So yeah, I got to talk to Dr. Larry Rohde, who is the head of the biology department. He and I know Sam's going to watch. Sam, I sold myself. Let's see, who the fuck is calling me? I don't know who the fuck this is. It's the second time they tried to call me. But Sam, I sold myself in the ways that we discussed. Well, one of the ways, and got some good information as far as some undergrad research, and I got the name of somebody who is working in developmental biology, specifically doing and MD Anderson Cancer Center, and it was another, I think Baylor University too, their research department. All three of them are in conjunction. Dr. Rohde is going to recommend me to him because evidently Dr. Santiago is looking for somebody like me. So some doors are opening, some big doors, because the place that I want to work, the MD Anderson Cancer Center, that is the place that Dr. Rohde graduated from. He got his PhD from there. So he knows the ins and outs about, how to get in there, especially if you want a job or you want education. So again, that's the motherfucking doors being open. That's what I'm looking at. And looks like I'm going to be slowed down in my education a little bit, because there are some core classes, some prerequisites that I'm going to have to take in order to take some of these upper level classes. Like one of them is tissue culture, and Dr. Rohde spent some time explaining to me what happens in tissue culture, and it's exactly what it fucking sounds like, where you're given a clump of cells and you gotta split them motherfuckers apart and keep them alive, and that's your grade. You go in at your own time. Nobody's standing over you, watching you, making sure you're doing the shit right. You do it, and if you need help, you contact the TAs or the instructor. It's big boy work. That's the kind of shit that I like. So he's still describing that class, and I start salivating. I'm like, fuck yeah, that's what I want. Let me get some of that. He said, but you need biochemistry. And I was like, God damn it. Son of a bitch. There's always a fucking catch. I didn't say all that shit, but I was thinking it. And of course, I'm taking Chem 2 now, so if you fucking open shit. Hey, fuck me. So I'm taking Chem 2 right now, so the order is Chem 1, Chem 2, Org 1, Org 2, Biochem 1, Biochem 2. So Org 1 is being offered this semester, but it's not being offered next semester. So that's going to slow me down quite a bit. So I'm going to knock out a whole bunch of other classes, but I may be staying maybe a semester or two more than I'd like, which shit happens. But I am grateful for being able to have some of these opportunities to begin with. So I may have to take molecular genetics with Dr. Rhodey, and he pretty much already told me, he's like, yeah, I don't think that the genetics course that you took at your other university, or at your other college rather, is going to suffice. And so he's like, well, luckily I'm teaching, molecular genetics next semester. So I was like, you know what? Fuck it. If I got to take genetics over again, I would rather do that. I didn't enjoy the word problem, but Dr. Rhodey's a good guy. He's a man's man. I like him. And he was fucking cracking up at the conversation we were having about fishing and about, wives and, of course, my service and that sort of thing. So he likes me, which is always a good thing. So that's an ace in the hole. I got it pointed up here. No one's gonna see your booty. So yeah, that's what's going on with that. So I gotta sit down. I gotta talk to Dr. Santiago and say, hey man, check this shit out. How can I get on your team this motherfucking summer so I can go work in the lab like a big boy? Because that's what I'm looking at. Because he's like Dr. Rhodey specifically said, yeah, you could probably get in with him this summer and go to UT, go to their lab and work with Dr. Santiago. I was like, all right. Y'all got any more of them undergrad research positions? You best believe we'll hop on that shit. Fuck having a dirt bait. I want to play with cells. I want to do tissue culturing because that shit sounds fun. So that's what's in store. But anyway, I want to talk a little bit about that. But I want to get to, because I was in class and I heard G-Man was saying stuff and he was trying to reply to the stuff that I was saying, but he really wasn't paying attention to what I was saying. So that's fine. Maybe the problem is me, even though I explicitly said that, hey, you get the conversation you deserve. And I think that point was kind of missed. But yeah, I'm doing well. Hurricane didn't affect me. It affected my cousin's wife's co-workers, because she works for the school district in the next town over, not even 10 minutes away. So some of them lost their homes. So that's why the stipulation that I made is that I raise money for them to help them out. Because as somebody who's lost his shit in a hurricane, I know exactly what they're going through. So that's why I don't mind spending time with this debate, going over stuff that's easily Googleable, if that's even a word, and discussing it. Plus it's entertaining for folks, so I'll do it. But anyway, yeah. So what did I say? I mentioned Ozzy's dictum. I mentioned we all get the conversation we deserve. So let me be very specific with what I'm talking about. I mean, ultra fucking specific. If we're debating, let's say, I'll give you a good one. Let me pick on Mowdy for a minute. Let me pick on him. If Mowdy says, Drag, look, Paisan, you can't call something a pizza and then put pineapples on it. So I disagree. I say, no, Mowdy, I'm going to call it whatever the fuck I want and put pineapples on it. So, what are we discussing? What are me and Maudie discussing at this point? What is a pizza? Right? That is the topic. That is the overall topic of discussion. All right? I'm going to try and tone down the smug just a little bit. I'm going to try. So, if we're discussing that, wouldn't you think at some point in the conversation, we go, hey, how about we define what a pizza is? And I say, a pizza is what I order from Papa John's. And he goes, Dre, I don't know about that. I think the classical definition of pizza is this. And he goes into, what the fucking crust is made of and the constituent fucking parts of what defines something as a pizza pie, if you will. And then he lays out, when it comes to the toppings, there are no fruits for a topping. That's not a thing. There are no fruit toppings for pizza. I'm just making this shit up, right? Just as an example. I don't know if that's Maudie's argument. He probably has something more sophisticated, more Italian to offer, but I'm just saying. So if I go, okay, so we found an issue. I define pizza as whatever the fuck I order from Papa John's, and he defines it as something a bit more robust. So rather than me telling Maudie he doesn't know what he's talking about, how about we look into why we have these definitions? Because I think being on the same page is kind of part of having a discussion. And I make this elaborate fucking illustration to point out what happened in the discussion about whether God exists. Now, if you have a monotheist and a polytheist, they're going to have different ideas about what a God is. Flat out. They're going to have different ideas. And we can discuss that. So we get to some of these, I don't know, maybe some of these ontological arguments about, what a God is. Fine, cool. If one of those attributes, one of the things that we're using to define what a God is in question, then we must discuss that before we move forward. So it is actually part of the conversation because, again, if we're talking about a pizza, there are certain things, there are certain attributes that a pizza must have in order for it to be a pizza and not, a turd. Right? So that is part of the conversation. If one of the things that we're defining or using to define a God with is the word finite, then we must define the word finite and make sure we are on the same page. What G-Man offered in the conversation and why everyone jumped on him is the most incoherent definition of finite I've ever heard. But that's fine. That's perfectly fine. You can have your own special esoteric language and your own lexicon that you defer to when you're talking about things. Whatever. People who play Dungeons and Dragons have their own lexicon. People who are in the sciences have their own. That's the reason why the word jargon exists. That's fine. But the reason this is important. This is really, 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 I cannot stress enough the importance that the English language, just like any other language, has a set of words, has a lexicon, if you will, that we defer to when we're trying to communicate a point. We have things to identify, to define what these words are that are contained within this lexicon, and we have common usages for these words. If I have an uncommon usage of this word, then I must elaborate further so that other people can understand what I'm talking about. So we get to this issue of semantics, and I've heard this word used several times, and G-Man heard someone else use it, so he decided to use it. But the issue is that G-Man doesn't learn new words for the sake of expanding his mastery of the English language. He learns words because he feels that they're used as weapons against him. Words are weapons, in a sense, against G-Man. But rather than going, okay, what does someone mean when they say this is a semantical argument? Here's what, when someone says that's semantics, let me illustrate yet again what that actually means. If I say, Sam, man, that girl is huge. And he says, no, drag, she's ginormous. And I say, Sam, we're arguing semantics here. Huge and ginormous mean the same exact fucking thing. But some people place a bit more emphasis on the size of something by using a different term. Ginormous to many people means bigger than normal, bigger than large. But you can make an argument that ginormous means much larger than large. Sure, why? But they both mean, on a very basic level, something that's big or bigger than normal. That's semantics. If you have some weird fucking definition that has nothing to do with any usage of a word, that's not semantics. That's you fucking up a word. If I define a can as something that is square and a complete solid, that's not a can. Oh, yep. One second, Sam. Shit, it was right here. Why didn't she hit enter? So, saying that something is just semantics when you completely have some weird definition that literally no one else but you uses, that's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. That's not just please stop saying that, G-Man. For the love of everything that is remotely related to the English language, linguistics, or just rational thought, just stop. Just please stop saying that. You don't know what the word semantics means. And the irony of you not knowing what the word semantics means is beyond comprehension. So let's just stop. Problem atheists have is from within the definition changes. You have new atheist version, atheism plus version. Yeah, and Phony Beatlemaniacs brings up a good point about this. There was a discussion where Ozzy was talking to, I think, Godless Engineer, and Godless Engineer was working with his own definition of atheism. Or excuse me, it was agnosticism, and it was not a classical definition of agnosticism, and so it ended up being a fairly newer incarnation of it. But you had Godless Engineer, and I think it was somebody else in that chat that was saying, no, this is the way it's always been, and that's not necessarily true. It wasn't true at all, actually. Which, I mean, if you were just now coming on the scene and you're a new atheist and whatever, that's what people use it as, which is fine, but you have to outline what you mean when you use this. But you just can't completely eschew, the classical definition of things. So, it's very, very important. I'm trying to send Sam something. Why is this not working? There it is. Okay, there you go, Sam. All right. So, I just, if we can't even agree on the same set of language, the conversation can't be had. Like that is at the very tippy top of the issues that exist. If you're defining something completely ass backwards as to what it is, no one knows what you're talking about. You see, this is most people would call this a notebook. If I call this a brick, people aren't going to know what I'm talking about. This one of my wife's figurines of something, some bitch, I don't know, whatever. If this is the Fossil of Lucy, no one's going to know what I'm talking about. You just can't define things how you want to. So if you have your own definition, then say, here's how I define it. How do you guys define it? And then the conversation can be had, not an argument, everyone else has this misunderstanding of the English language and I have mastered it. No, that doesn't need to happen at any point in time. And G-Man's not the only person who does this. G-Man's not the only one who makes a big stink out of this. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like he is, because he's not. I see a lot of atheists doing it too. But it is very annoying, very, very annoying. If you can't agree on a like the uses of a word, you can't have a conversation. Point blank, period. Like it can't happen. Next hangout, hard moderation for everyone but G-Man. When G-Man opens his mouth, mute everyone else except G-Man. See that, and that's what I don't want to do. I don't want to do that because, let me address that. I have the policy of just the tip because G-Man needs to interrupt people. We know that. We know that he has to interrupt people. He has to speak over everybody. He has to have full reign over a conversation, or he's going to be upset and then run off. I mean, he acknowledge the fact that yes, I've said that, and it's true. Like it's absolutely fucking true. I don't get upset when people talk over me and go run off and block people and do all this other kind of stuff. G-Man, I'm sorry, you do that. There's countless videos of you doing that. So I have a choice. I can either stop you from interrupting literally everybody, then stop everyone from interrupting you, which makes it fair, or let you talk over everybody and interrupt everybody and then let people do it. Like at that, you can't have moderation for everyone else in the hangout, but G-Man gets to interrupt and do everything else that he wants. That's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. I'm not sure how many times I got to say that. That's kind of what G-Man wants. So I have to soft moderate, and only when it's just absolutely necessary, because G-Man has to interrupt people. He can't not interrupt people and talk over people and yell and all this other kind of stuff that really makes it hard to have a conversation with him at times. At times. Please don't pick over certain words that I'm saying, even though you're upset that I'm doing that. But let me segue into something real quick. Let me segue. Since we're talking about picking up on one or two words. Look, if you ain't got a fucking strong grasp of the English language, it's going to be hard for you to have a conversation with anybody. There's no getting around that. If English ain't your first fucking language, you're going to have a hard fucking time. It is what it is. There's nothing. I had to sit in front of a mirror and practice saying things and enunciate so I could effectively code switch and be able to sit in a room with somebody who has a PhD in fucking cellular molecular biology, somebody who had been going to school who graduated the year I was born. Because sit in the same room as this man and him not look at me like I'm a fucking idiot. This man made phone calls for me into positions so that I could be on a team of one of his colleagues. If I spoke like a fucking idiot, I'm not calling anybody a fucking idiot. If I spoke like an idiot, if I couldn't string together a coherent series of words in some like intelligible manner, I would not have these opportunities. I wouldn't have any of the opportunities that I have. So it is pertinent that people understand how important it is to actually learn how to speak well. I mean very well. Not even very well, just halfway fucking decent. If Dr. Rhodey was talking about, he had mentioned cell cultures, and I go, oh yeah, all my cells have the best culture. I'm from Louisiana. Like, if I'd said some stupid shit like that, he would look at me like, what are you talking about? That in the context of the conversation I literally just had, a culture is not the same thing as something that you're raised within. The meaning of the word changes depending on the context. You can't just throw away the context because you didn't properly educate yourself in whatever the fuck the topic was. So I knew he was referring to HeLa cells or any type of cell strain, but that was one, and I could mention, oh yeah, so are we working with HeLa cells? He was like, oh no, we work with all kind of cells. So he, just from that conversation, just from me mentioning that, he knew I knew what the fuck I was talking about, and he knew that I knew what he was talking about. I'm going to bring this back in because he had mentioned true empiricism and how we pick on one or two things that true empiricism says. If you have served in the military, there is a certain language, there's a certain way people carry themselves, there's a certain way people talk, there's a certain set of idioms, there's all kinds of things that we use to identify other people who have served. That's why you really can't pull a fast one on those of us who have walked the walk. In the same exact way, if you are among those who have professionally, formally studied science, there's a certain language that you will use so that other people in the field know that you're competent, or at least somewhat competent. Soup sandwich, thank you. Perfect example, thank you. Well, soup sandwich is one of the best references, because to a civilian that makes no sense. To someone who's been in the military, you know exactly what that means, or the phrase "ate up." If you said, "Oh, that person looked ate up," or "go police your battle buddy," or something, something to that effect. Those, again, it goes back to jargon. It goes back to having esoteric language. If I hear someone using that, instantly I'm going to go, this person has served somewhere. At some point in time, they've served, because only we use that type of language. If Ronnie is saying that the DNA degrades in water, you're gonna raise your eyebrow a little bit. That's like if a Christian is saying that you can praise your lamp, and it's the same thing as praising Jesus. Like if someone says something off the wall that resembles nothing of what exists within that realm, then you're going to raise your eyebrow. Your red flags are going to go off. Are going to go up rather. I haven't eaten today. Sorry, I'm trying to think and get out something, because I was sitting in the fucking advisor's office and I was listening to a little bit of the response that G-Man had, and so there's this troubling thing with G-Man that I don't understand where it comes from, but he doesn't seem to want to actually understand how serious it is that he communicate with someone and communicate in a way that's effective. And when I say effective, not, well, because you're an atheist, you're going to agree with me. There are lots of atheists that I don't agree with. I don't know if you've been watching my channel, but there's stuff that I disagree with. Not just, it has nothing to do with their affiliation. Fun fact, since G-Man likes to bring up this us versus them every so often, which is, again, that's troubling too. Thomas Garcia, if I can put this here. It's a reminder, a guy I got to talk to for the undergrad stuff. I had to make a note of that. So it has nothing to do with what faction you belong to. There are very few people who are going to say that, well, Drag doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about, unless I start talking about, like, the Bible. Then somebody can legitimately say Drag probably doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. Somebody can even say about philosophy. I have no problem with that. But when it comes to the areas that I've taken time to sit down and learn, and stuff that I've tutored folks in, like, I kind of have to know what the fuck I'm talking about. So if that is the impression that I give folks, then that means that I'm able to communicate information to them in an effective manner. If people are looking at G-Man or other people in the CCP and they're going, okay, when Zulu said that humanism has nothing to do with Christianity, that is a factually incorrect statement. That was completely asked. Oh, MP, hey, I explained a little, like I read like a few lines of what we talked about last night, and he was like, yeah, that's exactly it. So MP, you were right on the money with that. Thank you, MP, by the way. We got to talk about that shit for like all of 3 minutes in the class, at the very ass in the class. So I think we're going to continue talking about it Friday. So I will definitely let you know what happens then. But at some point in time, I've had to communicate information in an effective manner. Ronnie doesn't do that. Ronnie can barely fucking spell. Like, we make fun of him for it. It's sad, honestly. To be completely honest, we probably shouldn't make fun of Ronnie because he has such difficulty spelling. That, to me, for a grown man that doesn't know the difference between D-O and D-U-E, that means that he's had some fucked up education somewhere. Because not everyone can spell efficiently, the word efficiently, correctly the first time. Some of us will have to Google it. Say, oh man, is it 2 F's or 1 F's, or everyone does shit like that. But for something as simple as the difference between D-O and D-U-E, that right there, if I was reading someone's work and I saw that, I would instantly think that they have had, at some point in time in their life, a cutoff in their education, or they received subpar education, because that is just terrible. And it is what it is. If you don't understand the importance of knowing how to spell shit correctly and taking your goddamn time, people are going to look at you weird. That's a fact of the matter. I didn't make this shit up. This is something that I was taught. I was taught from a woman who's been spending, decades in human resources. And because she tells me, it's because she's fucking told me. She has read people's employment applications. And if they don't know the difference between there, and there, do and do, two and two, she will throw that shit in the trash. Absolutely throw it in the fucking trash. Because if you can't take the time to understand how to use basic, and I mean, mind you, my mother's doing human resources in a hospital. A hospital. If you've not seen drugs and how similar they are to one another in name, you need to take a pharmacology class. Just take a pharmacology class. There are tons of drugs who sound exactly the same. Some of them have a different spelling of one letter. And this is something that I had to be trained on because people were fucking up medications and giving people the wrong thing. So it is very important to some level to understand why being an effective communicator is important, because it does go back to perception. If people are going to perceive you as less, even if you're not. Phony Beatlemaniacs. I understand you and him are stubborn, but am I lying? Am I making this shit up? No. This is absolutely true. That's why I take my time. That's why I have Grammarly on my computer. I think all my devices have Grammarly. And I take my time. I have links to, how to separate independent and dependent clauses or two independent clauses. I have resources. I didn't know shit about this fucking... I was just talking to MP in the chat. One of our instructors said, hey, we're going to be going over this landmark case, and if you don't have a background in political science, law, or philosophy, you may not really understand what's going on. I read it. I was like, nope. I knew when my knowledge in this particular area wasn't sufficient. So I reached out to somebody who did know more, and I didn't sit there and fucking argue with him. But that's what I see online, and it's so baffling to me. But then I realized, if you go throughout life doing this shit, you're not going to be successful. And I hate to say it, the proof is in the fucking pudding for some folks. If I was so full of myself that no one could teach me, I wouldn't be in the position that I'm in now. I wouldn't have been able to walk into this guy's office, this guy who has been teaching since I've been born, literally 30 years, who has been teaching this shit for that long, impress him enough for him to forward my information to one of his colleagues so that I could have opportunities that people dream of. That's because I sat down and I took the time to make sure that I don't sound like a fucking idiot. If folks online are upset that other folks look at me and go, you know what? This guy knows the fuck he's talking about. That's because I put effort into it. That's it. That's really it. I'm not actually smarter than anybody else out here. No, I'm not in any way, shape, or form. I just take my fucking time and go, you know what? What can I work on to improve myself? My cup's not full. My cup is never full. If my cup is full, I can't learn. What would be the point of me going to seeking knowledge if I knew every goddamn thing? So some humility is needed when engaging in these conversations. I'm pretty sure I know I'm going to do pretty well in this conversation, but think about something for a second, folks. And G-Man, I know you're watching. Think about something. Yes, I learned discipline in the Army. I learned a lot. You need some help? These last 2 weeks, G-Man's been bragging about how bad he's going to lose, or how bad people are going to perceive him to already be the loser, how I need to work on debating. Have you really seen me bragging about how bad I'm going to whoop G-Man's ass in this debate? I don't need to. I'm going to present evidence, and I want people to draw their own conclusions. I don't need to do that. I can talk shit and brag all day long. That's easy. Anybody can do that. But to say, I'm going to prepare for what I think is going to be presented. I'm going to make sure that I run this by other people who know more about this shit than me. That takes humility. I reached out to Sam. I reached out to Rational Mind. I know Rational Mind's getting his PhD in this shit. So you know what? He'd be the best resource. And gladly, he typed me up 4 pages worth of information. As a matter of fact, I'm going to have more information than I need for this. But then I need to make sure, instead of just going, oh, I'll just copy and paste all the shit that Rational Minds sent me, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to sit down and make sure that I first understand what's being put forth before I go out here balls clicking. Again, that goes back to humility. So while we're talking about people's personality defects, while we're talking about conversations, I think that needs to be put out there on Front Street, because I'm not out here dancing around saying how much I'm going to win. I don't fucking know. And that's why I mentioned in the conversation before, the video that I did earlier, that I love Alex Carson. That's my boy. But he thought because he could just go in on G-Man and say whatever, that he was going to do a good job. And a lot of us were like, no, man, you assume because it was G-Man that you didn't have to present a decent argument. And that's not the case. So I'm not sure where G-Man got this idea from, that everyone just went and patted Alex Carson on the back. Because I remember that, because Alex Botton was one of the people who had mentioned that, no, he didn't do a good job. And then that caused friction between the two. I do remember that much. So for those old heads who are still around and remember that, I don't think the people, on our side of the camp gave him, just these glowing reviews of what he did. No, I think he could have done better. Very, very, very much better. Just putting more effort into it. So it's I think it's less. It should be less boasting and more learning, and going, all right, do I understand these positions, or do I just project upon these people what I think is the case? And I see a lot of G-Man projecting what he thinks is the case, and here's what kills me. Hold on for a second. Drag G-Man can call this a debate. This in reality is going to be you teaching him things, even if he chooses to reject. Yeah, I know. Like, I understand that I'm going to be working against some pretty, well-constructed straw men. And be that as it may, I'm going to just roll the punches. Like, that's really what I have to do. Because no matter the outcome of this debate, it's not going to matter. It's really nothing in academia is going to change. There's not going to be any change in any textbook. There's no science teacher just going to go commit suicide. Nothing is going to change. But people on the internet with their beliefs who have no actual credibility outside of their YouTube channel, it's just going to make us think about it. Like, that's really it. And I'm not sure why this file is not sending, but it's starting to piss me off. So, folks, bring your popcorn. I'm not doing this, for G-Man's benefit. I'm not doing this for my benefit. I know it's going to entertain some folks, and this can be a vehicle for me to raise more money for people who lost their homes and lost, everything in the hurricane. I'm not sure why it's not focusing. There we go. So that's my motivation. Like, it's going to be this Saturday, 10 Eastern Standard Time. So I'm trying to remember something else he mentioned, because one of the things he was upset about was, oh, well, if you're an atheist, you're automatically going to win. No. What was funny was that G-Man was convinced that, I'm not sure, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, G-Man's time. If you're an atheist, then only atheists know anything. All theists are stupid. He made some statements like that, and that goes back to the us versus them mentality. What's funny about that, and I've mentioned this before, is that the women who taught me biology, who helped me obtain my first degree, which again I mentioned my education because it's important, they were all Christian. Every last one of them. The women on here who have taught me plenty about biology, Jade, Fiona, are Christian. So I'm not sure what G-Man's talking about when it's, theists don't know anything, or, all atheists are smart, or just that's demonstrably false. I reject that claim, and I'm not sure where he even got it from. But I see it as a way for him to shift focus from himself, because if I go, I don't understand this topic, I need to go and study more on it. That has nothing to do with anybody else whatsoever. If I can't speak intelligently on this topic, maybe I don't understand it as well as I thought. It has nothing to do with someone's uh, worldview or someone's Christian or non-Christian perspective. It's either you know the facts around whatever the fucking topic is, or you don't. It's it's as simple as that. Like, I'm not sure how much I can distill this down into people just don't understand enough about the topic to speak on it. And so what's interesting was G-Man had mentioned, here we go, defending true again, where some of us, and I think Hogtie Champ was good at this, we'll sit here and we'll try and figure out what True is trying to say in some of his videos, because when you listen to him, you don't hear someone who actually has a comprehensive, notice what I'm saying, comprehensive understanding of biology or chemistry or any topic for that matter. You hear someone who's picked one or two things that they've read about in some book or some article, and that they are now professing it, and now it's gospel, now it's whatever. Well, that's cool. Yes, this is probably my last one today, but I want to address some things. Drag suggests you send G-Man glossary of term definition you'll be using. I'm purposely not going to use jargon so that's not an excuse later. That would be too easy just to inundate him with stuff, but he doesn't need to listen to what you're saying. He's just going to, he thinks he knows what my arguments are, and so he's preparing a bunch of stuff that that he thinks I'm going to say. I could make a prediction right now. It's none of the stuff that I've actually said. So it really doesn't, like, I don't even need to be there. He's going to argue against Strawman Dragnot, and Strawman Dragnot's going to fall over and burn. So I make that prediction. So probably my last one. Probably. I'm not gonna make promises. Not right now. The reason I took so long today is that I went and spoke to I went to speak to advisors for the College of Engineering and Science, and then they directed me to the chair of the Biological Sciences Department, and he and I had like a hour and a half long conversation where he gave me information to Mr. Thomas Garcia and how I can get on his team for undergrad research for this summer. So, but then that goes back to, I had to impress this guy enough for him to jump through some hoops and make phone calls in order for me to get this opportunity, because he's handed me an opportunity on a silver platter and told me that he wants me in his class, and he wants me in his colleagues' classes and on his colleagues' team to learn how to culture, tissues and how to work in developmental biology. So at some point I had to say something that in his head clicked. It went, you know what? This guy is serious. This guy knows what he's talking about. Let me open some doors for him. Like, Drag, if you want research, all you have to do is volunteer to do the work. Yeah, no, I am, and I plan on doing a stint, I think at UT, I want to say UT Medical Center this summer. I still haven't spoke to Dr. Garcia. I kind of run out of time. I had to come home, and I got to go get my son in about 10 minutes. But I plan on talking to Mr. Garcia later, Dr. Garcia rather. So I'm still trying to plant some strong roots in this college and work my way up and build rapport with everyone in the department. So that's going to take me some time, but I am slowly but surely working my way, because from the way Dr. Rhodey made it sound as though the doors that are opening are, one of those doors will inherently be a door to the MD Anderson Cancer Center. So by me working at UT, that also allows me to kind of like that lateral transition to MD Anderson. That's from what I gathered from the conversation. So Check your email. Okay. Um, but yeah, but it's just take some time. Take some time to consider something. If fuck, I can't do that. If it was Ronnie sitting in the chair across from Dr. Rhodey instead of me, does G-Man really think that Dr. Rhodey would have felt that he was competent? Just I genuinely would like to hear what people think about that. Because, mind you, you have to take my word for it at this point, but trust me, come this summer, uh, I'll take a few screenshots, but sorry, I'll take a few pictures, not fucking screenshots. Ooh, my mother-in-law sent me something very interesting. That's yeah, it's an internship. I think this is with engineering, but we'll see. Um, like he doesn't have the education first and foremost, but he doesn't even if I had never mentioned how much education that I had, I don't think that he could articulate himself in a manner that would make people in that department feel that he was competent. I just based on conversations I had with him, based on his general just lack of knowledge when it comes to really basic stuff. Like he could talk about negligible senescence, but he can't tell you about basic cell theory. Like I'm just giving an example. I'm pretty sure he'll make a video later and go, look, I googled it, I found it, But that's cute, man. But there's a reason I am where I am. Like people can say whatever they fucking want, but the reason I have these opportunities is because I took the fucking time to do it. Like I can't help but to self-aggrandize. Let me pronounce that fucking word right. Or phrase, I should say. But it does come down to either you sound like you know what the fuck you're talking about, or you don't. That is military fucking 101. That is business 101. That is literally every facet of a professional. It doesn't matter. It does not matter what arena it's in. If you don't sound like you know what the fuck you're talking about, people aren't going to believe you. Like, I don't know how that's strange. Right now, you got to accept it into school science because atheist nepotism. Ronnie would be ditched. It's funny. No, Dr. Rhodey had a pin on his tie, and it was the ichthys, the fish, the Jesus fish, the ichthys. And I noticed that because again, another fucking Christian. Again, like it's Texas though, but still. So. Also, Ronnie hasn't watched Critique Our Journal Club. No, he won't, and I know he won't. Like Ronnie, feel free. Right now I'm preparing for this debate and doing some projects, but feel free, Ronnie, if you want to critique our job on the Journal Club. I'll waiting for that. It's fucking just you got any more of them critiques, TE? I want to improve myself. Let me reply to my mother-in-law real quick. But I'm sorry, that's what it comes down to. Again, I'm not trying to say it's just a shit on Ronnie or a shit on G-Man. I'm being like I think Ronnie's I think Ronnie has taken a break from what I understand, which he probably needs. He probably wants to get some shit done, which is good. He should definitely take a break. So he should take this opportunity to, I don't know, go to go fuck himself. No, to go start from the basics, like basic chemistry of life, and work his way up. Like if you genuinely if you like Fuzz Rana, do what Fuzz Rana's doing. Like I don't know what else to say. Like I just. Stop saying dirt bait. I can hear it misspelling it. Oh god. I only call it dirt bait because everybody else keeps saying it. I think it's funny. Uh, yeah. Hold on. I'm reading something for a second. My mother-in-law just said, "Why did none of these apply to me?" I appreciate my mother-in-law doing this, but none of these. Okay, so there's a internship for NASA, and just by NASA, people know like where I'm getting my education, and they really don't like they don't really meld together very well. But aeronautical engineering, aeronautics, aerospace engineering, astronautical engineering, astronautics, astronomy, astrophysics, biomedical engineering, ceramics, chemical engineering, chemistry, civil engineering, computer science, life science, earth, planetary science, electrical engineering, electronics engineering, geology, geophysics, industrial engineering, materials science, mathematics, pure or applied mechanics, engineering mechanics. Like none of this says biology, motherfucker. So I'm not going to be able to, they're going to be like, why are you here? Why are you applying to this? I appreciate it though. Thank you, mother-in-law, for looking out. But yeah, I'm not sure if I'd be able to get into that. I'd try. I could try. Oh, I got it. Forgot my thing expired for this book. A little distracted. Fuck. Yep, it did expire. Let's see. Both him and Ronnie don't listen to what I said when they use the time someone else talking about what they're gonna say next. All right, hey, what's going on? Yeah, I'm no astronaut. Yeah, I appreciate her doing this, but I don't even think I have the chemistry background for this because I'm just taking like Chem 2 right now. Like I said, I would like, it'd be cool kind of be around folks like that, but it's not really. I'm going to be honest with myself and say I would be paying attention, but I'm just kind of like eh. So I'm not going to waste time and an opportunity where somebody like Redline, like this is an opportunity I wish I'd be like, hey Redline, hey man, here you go, and just like gift that to him because that's his shit. If y'all have not seen Redline in real life talk about rockets and shit, that's somebody who's fucking passionate. That's somebody who needs a opportunity like that because that man loves him some fucking rockets. He loves Red Rocket. He loves Red Rocket. Loves Red Rocket. But yeah. Anyway, it's a lot of research. I didn't know that, Sam. There's actually a lot of microbiome research being funded by NASA. I did not know that. But then again, that makes sense, wouldn't it? It makes sense, and probably goes more. Oh yeah, and there's astrobiology. That's true. Yeah, astrobiology. That's very true. Sam, I'm trying to send you this fucking link, and it's not. It's. I don't know what the fuck's going on with this. Like, it's not sending. I'm getting distracted. Yeah. Maybe one day I might delve into astro biology because it's very interesting. Hey, look at the link between microbiome and Parkinson's and the alpha syndrome mouse. Huh. I just got a message from Mrs. Webster, and she's thanking me for the donations to help out her and the kids at the school. So, but yeah, it's part of the issue. Let me get back on track. Because I get distracted too easily. Part of the issue here is that people don't fucking listen. And the irony is that all these atheists are just it's all this shit. When I try to listen very carefully, But if we can't even agree on like the terms to use, then it's going to make communication come to a screeching halt. So at some point in time, G-Man, Ronnie, some of these other guys, whoever, you'll have to go, all right, I'm using this word, and then people are kind of going, they're doing a Scooby-Doo at what I'm saying. So even without doing the whole, well, who's smarter than who nonsense, you could completely skip past that and go, am I communicating effectively? And this is a tip from dragging that to the CCP. If you go, am I communicating effectively? Every time there's an issue, you can resolve it without conflict. I guarantee you. And you can do this too, in your own time, your own home, and with your coworkers. Do I understand what this word means? Am I mispronouncing it? Maybe I have a different definition. Maybe not. You say, okay, well, how do you define this? Well, say, okay, well, I understand what you mean. I see how you defined it here. Let me explain the concept of what I'm talking about instead of using the word, so we're not caught up on semantics, as G-Man likes to say. Please, G-Man, stop saying that. You don't know what semantics is. Go for the concepts, because that's all it is when we communicate shit to one another, the words that we use communicate ideas. That's it. If it's better for you just to communicate the ideas, then do that. That's fine. Well, I'm defining finite, a finite God, by one that is material. Okay, so a materialistic God. Yeah, okay, yes. Okay, so there we go. So every time when I say finite God, I mean materialistic God. That is the attribute, that is how I'm defining it in this case, then that's fine. We can move on with the conversation, because the word finite has a different meaning than what one believes. And so for those of us who kind of understand the English language just a little bit, we understand that finite and infinite have different meanings in different contexts, but it also entails much more than what one is putting forth at the time. And I hear this coming up too. Well, you know what I mean. Well, no, I don't. Well, you know, because I know, because of your mind to my mind to inner solipsism. Just stop. So if for a second you think you know my position, you don't. Anytime you think you understand my position at any given time, on any given topic, on any given day, you don't. Start with that assumption. So, since you don't understand my position on anything, and I'm telling that this is just a fun exercise. Assume that you're not psychic for 1 second. Please, CCP members, all of you, you are not psychic. Some of you don't even know my real name. Okay? Some of you even do, because I've told you. Guess what? I told you. You knew something about me because I told you. Really? You didn't guess it? You didn't read it in a magic book? You didn't throw chicken bones? You didn't throw dice? You didn't go to a magic 8-ball? Fairies didn't whisper in your ear? I told you my real name. You didn't know my real name beforehand, so I gave you information about me. Now take that information, take that whole scenario where you've now known my name, you've known something about me, and apply that with my position on a topic. It's this crazy idea. I know all the cool kids are doing it these days. When you go, what's your position on this topic? And I go, yada, 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 yada. And you go, I didn't know your position was yada, 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 yada. That's interesting. Tell me more about it. Crazy, I know. Since none of you are psychic, it might help to do that. Because I don't see the point. And here's what I don't understand. if you know every goddamn thing, well, for one thing, why ain't your life better? But if you know every goddamn thing, why even talk to people? That's what I'm curious about. Like if you're playing detective and like while you're playing detective, you're hoping to uncover some secrets that you haven't already uncovered with the magic fucking 8-ball or the magic 6th sense or whatever being utilized. Like what are you hoping to gain that these magic powers have not been able to discern? Because I'm just like, there's no point. Ain't no goddamn point. Are you coming? Oh. I'm coming later for that ass. So, y'all didn't hear that. Oops. I moved too quick. Hold on. Alright. So, I'm always curious. Like, if you already know everybody's position, everyone's position is the same, and these conversations are just to illustrate how everyone else are liars and stuff like this, well, it seems like a futile effort since you already know that everyone's lying. Like that, it doesn't make any sense to me. Like why? To me, I don't talk to people I know are liars. So, well, that's not true. But people who purport to lie a lot, I would rather not deal with them, because I mean it's easy to assume everyone else is being dishonest rather than going, you know what, maybe I don't understand this as well as I think. I mean, because that's easy. Like you can easily assume that everyone else is lying and everyone else is wrong and everyone else this and that. And again, it's this shifting that happens. This shifting of responsibility, the shifting of the onus, the burden of proof. It's so funny because you really don't see that in real life. I say real life, see the person. It's this weird thing that I genuinely don't understand. Pathological liar syndrome. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a psychologist. I can't say, and it is hard to tell if someone's mistaken or if they're like overtly lying on the internet. It is actually difficult to tell. So I have tried to abstain from just calling it what it is, but I can say what it seems like. It seems like there's dishonesty. But I will say that it is dishonesty when I say my position is the sky is blue, and then someone else goes, oh no, what you really believe is that it's red. Well, are you fucking psychic? No, then you don't know what really my position is. Like if you can't dig into my brain and hear my thoughts with your mind's eye or whatever the fuck people use to peer into people's brains. So no, you don't. And quit saying it. It's stupid. Like if you want people to take you seriously, stop saying stupid shit. Like that's the very first thing. If you are not psychic, you don't know what people are saying in their heads. You don't know what people believe in their heads. Let me repeat that. If you are not psychic, you don't know what exists in people's heads. It's a very simple concept. That's what psychic is. If you are not psychic, you don't know what goes on in people's heads. They have to tell you. So if you were psychic, you wouldn't need to talk to them because you'd already know. Like, come on. You'd be getting into school for free if you're psychic. Got one thumbs down. No, that's G-Man. I mean, he can be a little upset, but I mean, this is tough love. This is tough love. Even a big problem is telling people their position instead of asking what their position is and attacking position. Exactly. Soul of Thunder has it exactly right. And that's why MP said earlier that he's the king of strongman. It's easier to assume someone's position and attack the straw man than it is to actively listen to them and then have an organic conversation. That's the simple truth. If I go into every conversation and think that everybody's G-man, every theist that I ever talk to, I think have the answer prayer argument. And I was like, oh, I've spent days and days and weeks preparing for the answer prayer argument. And then they say, no, I'm actually, I subscribe to natural theology. The thing that doesn't exist. and I say, no, what you really think is, answer prayer and prayer journals. That's what you really mean. They look at me like I'm fucking stupid. Just because I've said something fucking stupid. And they should look at me like I'm fucking stupid, because again, it is fucking stupid. I had to put in the redundancy because I want to place a big emphasis on this idea that, well, I know what people really mean. Well, if I have explicitly made my position clear and you continue to say something different, you are strawmanning me. Like, I don't know how else to put that across. Like, by definition, last time I checked, if you were attacking a position that's not my own, that I've not professed, it's a fucking straw man. What else is there? What is there? There's no justification. There's just an unwillingness to see shit for what it is, and a willingness to be dishonest at some level. And that's it. It doesn't matter whose side you're on, doesn't matter what the position is, doesn't matter who the people are. That is what it is. That scenario is what it fucking is. Demon also doesn't do nuance for people who are not on his side. If one person who uses a label says something, it has to be true for everyone else that identifies with that label. Exactly. And nuance and context don't exist, it seems, unless, it comes with the divisions of Christians. Well, then that's a hit and miss. So, it doesn't matter. It's just semantics. It's just semantics. It's not semantics. No, it is not semantics, G-man. Don't know what that word means, man. With all love, you don't know what that word means. Stop saying that. And quit taking my fucking euphemisms, G-man. You got to come up with your own. These are mine. I have trademarked them. Stop taking mine. I'm just kidding. You can take my euphemisms and shit. And if you're going to use them correctly. That's all that I ask. That's it. That is it. If you catch G-Man logical fallacy, he just comes up with his own definition of that fallacy and makes him right. That is pretty funny. I'll try to remember. I think someone said he was equivocating one day. Because he was doing a Brett King when he was asking someone, do they have faith in their doctor or faith in their wife to not cheating on them or something like that, and then he was relating it to religious faith, and that is an equivocation, because that's two different meanings of the same word. And so he then, I think, gave his own rendition of what the equivocation fallacy is, and then that excluded what he was doing. And I'm just like, I could define shit into reality too. That's cool. Well, shit. Well, then the word faith means I like to, feel up my own asshole. Like, I don't. So then the conversation becomes void and null at that point. Like, I don't know. It seems like it seems to me. It seems to me that it takes more effort to do the shit that G-Man does than it would for him to have a genuine, honest, sincere conversation with folks. Like, it seems like you have to jump through so many mental hoops that it makes the conversation almost intolerable from his standpoint. Because why would you have to keep redefining what someone else says? Because at some point you have to go, okay, I heard what this person said, I heard the context that they used it in, I'm going to apply my own context to it and then reconstruct a completely new argument that resembles nothing of what they've said. So again, this is kind of where the honesty thing comes in, because you've had to hear something of what they've said. But if you didn't understand it, then you can go, okay, can you repeat that or can you rephrase it? So if you didn't want to do that, then you didn't understand what they said, and then you just constructing a new argument, knowing that you didn't understand the first one. So again, I'm not sure really what's going on with that. It seems like, how you doing? It seems just like a lot more effort to do that. G-Man debate tactics. Number 1, straw man argument topic. 2, straw man explain topic. 3, use someone else's position, assign it to you, attack that. 4, become dishonest about definitions. 5, call you a liar. Seems legit. Every time I've tried to have an honest conversation, he walked away, not interested. The closest we got to talking about the Pokemon, closest we got was talking about the Pokemon is demonic thing. Yeah, that's it. I mean, it's, and that's that. Watching the kind of, like, I wouldn't say tense exchanges, but watching the kind of like little quick exchanges that that Vincent and G-Man had, it really told me that there's an uncomfortability with G-Man and acknowledging someone's position. Like if you tell him what your position is, he immediately doesn't believe it, which again, that goes back to, why are you talking to somebody you think is a liar? But for him to then sit and construct what he thinks you believe, like, I don't understand why that's necessary. Because if, okay, let me try and put myself in G-Man's position, because he's under the impression he reads that passage in Romans, I think it is, where, when they're actually talking about the people who are already believers, and then they're just self-deluded. G-Man takes that and assumes that everybody then understands, and we could have a whole hangout on his Romans interpretation. But anyway, let's assume it's right. Let's assume it is. So everyone knows in some way, shape, or form that his deity and his particular brand of religion, mind you, his particular brand, is the truth, all this shit. And so his goal, purported goal, is to just expose the dishonesty of everyone else by telling them that he knows that they're lying, and that he knows that they really believe, and that he knows all this other shit. He knows intuitively. I'm not sure how effective that is. I'm really trying to put myself in his shoes and think, because if I know that someone is self-deluded, and you tell them what the deal is, and they just kind of reject it just out of hand, what makes you think that confronting them is going to do much good? I'm trying to think of, like, the process. Well, I'm just going to expose your dishonesty because I feel in my heart that you're being dishonest. I don't understand. Okay. Come on. Okay, no issues today. Come on. Come on. Alright, let's go. So, the son acquired. Oh, hold on. Mess up. Fill in the door, child. So, if I think that I don't know, people, like a group of people, are just completely deluded, and I have the truth. So what could I do to help bring that out? This is actually a good thought experiment. Why not? Let's play G-Man thought experiment. My son ain't gonna respond. What'd you do today? You have fun?
Yeah.
What'd you do? Keep thinking about it. Let's see. What's going on? So let's see. If I think that, let's just go a person. If I'm talking to a person and I know that they believe aliens abducted them, all right, but they tell me that they don't believe that. But I know in my heart of hearts, because I consulted a Magic 8 Ball, and the Magic 8 Ball told me, and this is the deal. Dear, if you're watching, please raise the garage. Thank you. if I feel that I want to expose them because I know they believe that, what could I do? Maybe if I had a video of them saying that they believed it. There's video evidence. Yeah, I think so. Or something to that effect. Yeah, if I had if G-Man thinks he's a great debater, you should challenge his to a reverse debate where you have to present the opposite side. Yeah, that'd be interesting. That would be interesting. Huh. I might do that actually. That is interesting. But yeah, I would. Yeah, I'm really trying to think about how I would go about this, because if someone's truly deluded, it doesn't matter what you tell them. Like that's the end thing. That's the whole reason why they're deluded. Evidence exists, but I don't know. I really don't know. Huh. That's even people who have particular like really stringent political beliefs. People still believe Obama's a secret Muslim and he's trying to take over the United States, and evidence to the contrary, or say not the Muslim thing. He wasn't born in the U.S. Even though we have a birth certificate showing that he was born in the United States. That evidence to the contrary did not change their mind. So they still held the belief and it had nothing to do with the evidence. So I'm not sure really what, really what you could do. So that's what makes it strange that G-Man thinks that by having these debates and telling people what they believe is somehow supposed to expose what he thinks that they believe. I'm trying my best to really adopt his belief system, and I got this from the videos that he's been posting, because he feels that I know and everyone else knows that his God exists from his particular brand of religion, and we're all lying, we're all deluding ourselves, which is fucking strange. But I don't know. Like I'm not going to hurt my brain trying to think and assume, and that's really what you think about is really fucking crazy. Why would you think that literally every person you talk to who has his position is lying? Like every single person. Like, it includes Maudi, it includes a bunch of people who have been very cordial, but all of them are lying. Weird. That's so strange to me. That is very strange. Because how many people do that to him? How many people go, you know what? I don't believe G-Man. All the stuff that he says is too stupid. I've heard people say this. All this stuff is just too stupid. There's no way he believes this stuff. He's pulling our leg. I've heard people say this. They know he's legit. I will defend G-Man and tell you his belief that we're all lying is legit. He's not making that up. He genuinely believes everyone's a liar, which is funny given his track record. But it is what he believes, and I think he's sincere in that belief. I think he's fucking wrong. Matter of fact, no, I know he's wrong because I kind of know what's in my head, more so than anyone else, but fuck me, who am I, right? So yeah, there is that. Dragnot, maybe we should all come out and confirm everything he thinks, dispose conspiracy, because no one will believe him anyway. Yeah, it's funny. People, I don't know why people thought my wife was an atheist. All I would tell people is that she used to be a Muslim. That's it. That was pretty funny. I was tickled by that. A lot of people started making assumptions. But maybe he believes it because he thinks everyone behaves like him. No, G-Man knows his behavior is unacceptable. He's fully aware of that, by the way. Don't be fooled. He knows that the stuff that he does and says isn't acceptable. He just makes excuses for it. That's how you know that he knows it's acceptable. Because if okay, now it fucking ends. Yeah, he makes excuses for his behavior. People who don't understand that their behavior is unacceptable won't try and justify it. They'll just deny that it even happens. So that's how you know that he does it. And Fion's right, he does it to purposely rile up people. But he gets upset when people call him dumb and stupid and a moron and this, that, and the other. So it's like, you can't behave like a jackass and then be upset when people retaliate. And, like, there's just certain shit that you... Like, if I want a better conversation with Darwin's deity, I have to allow him to insult me indirectly a lot. But I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to call him out, Dragna style, and he's going to run away. So there has to be some give and take depending on who you're dealing with. You can't call out a no true Scotsman unless you're Scottish. Oh, God. Just kill me now. But, I was gonna address something. I forgot what it was. I haven't eaten today. But I'm gonna play with Mrs. Dragna a little bit, do some homework, and see what Drag Jr.'s been doing. And his floor is wet, and I'm gonna towel real quick. But yeah, I'm trying to decipher. I'm trying to get into the whole G logic. I don't understand it. But I'll figure it out one day. I promise. I don't let G-Man get me riled up. If you've noticed when I go into his hangouts, I have a certain poise. I have a certain kind of protocol that I follow. Because if I can't tell him not to interrupt me, I can't tell him, hey, that's not my position. I just have to sit and wait until he's done interrupting me, and then being upset with other people when they interrupt his interrupting of them. And after all that's transpired, then I may be able to get out more than 5 words, so that I can somewhat explain what my position is. So that's why I sit and I just wait. I take my time. I slowly bide my time, slowly but surely. You can ignore him all you want. He's still going to get attention from the drunken peasants and some of the other folks who have who've made a killing off of putting forth his antics and making it such that they can monopolize on his tirades and then kick him when he becomes too much. I mean, it's the perfect formula. Like, it is, because that's what was funny to last night when I was doing some reading on Facebook in that street epistemology group, where these guys are talking about trying to use the Socratic method to parse out people's arguments and kind of get to the bottom of it, not making assumptions of what people believe, but just asking them questions. And so one of the guys in there used G-Man as a pejorative. And I had seen, people can shit on G-Man all day long, right? And call him stupid and all this other kind of stuff. I got that, right? That's them. I don't need to do that really, but I just let them fucking talk. But then when you're using his name as a pejorative to signify the breakdown in communication, that's bad. Like that, I don't think G-Man really realizes how his persona online is an indication, is being used as a label for when conversations go awry. That's bad. That's like your name being attached to some type of venereal disease. What's that guy's name? He was a presidential candidate, and they attached his name to something nasty that had to do with anal. I can't remember his name. Somebody will say it in the chat. But when they attached his name to whatever that was, every time you thought about his name, Santorum, thank you, Santorum. Every time you heard that name, it was attached to that stigma. So the fact that G-Man's name is now stigmatized and is attached to the breakdown in communication, that's pretty damn bad. That is terrible. So when I say, yeah, we get the conversations we deserve, if you have a reputation of destroying conversations, like what do you expect at the end of the day? It doesn't matter whether I'm calm and collective. The conversation's not going to go anywhere because one, there's a limit to the education of one of the participants, flat out. And when I say, let me explain what I mean by education. I'm not talking about having letters after your name. I'm not talking about degrees you're holding. I'm talking about just your basic knowledge on the topic. Point blank fucking period. It doesn't matter where you got it from. Just understanding what the difference is between something that is this and something that's not this. Like at that very basic level. So, I can't emphasize that enough. That is a terrible, terrible stigma to have attached to your name. And that's like, if I had that reputation, I might want to think twice about some of the conversations I'm having with folks and why people have that impression. Because, mind you, these people in this group have not ever dealt with G-Man. No, because I'm looking at their names, they've only watched him. And some of them have been watching for a while. And so from that, they've gathered that he's not the best person to have a conversation with. If you want to have a genuinely, good conversation and have, some kind of progress be made, and hopefully learn something. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that no one can have a good conversation with G-Man. That's not true. Not at all. Just the other day, Mounty had a conversation with him where Mounty was able to navigate the conversation so that it didn't trigger him to go off into any one of, his many directions of, proclaiming everyone a heretic if they're a Christian and declaring everyone a liar if they're an atheist and relegating people into two camps and claiming himself the victor and all the steel noises and all the other kind of stuff. Like, he's able to navigate the conversation not to elicit that type of response. And that's to Mouty's credit. But if you want to have a conversation, an edifying one, where everyone involved learns something, you're not going to have that with G-Man. I'm sad to say, there's nothing against the dude, but you have to bring something to that conversation that nobody else has. Loud, obnoxious antics is not something that's going to teach somebody something. You then can't complain that you don't learn anything and that no one's approaching you with information when we have a lot of people in this community that I've learned from that have offered information that you've resisted. The information is out there. Many people, Jade being one of them, she's in the chat right now. Jade has offered on numerous occasions to sit down and educate. Fiona has offered many, and Fiona has educated them. I was there. I watched it. I witnessed it. So it comes down, again, let's bring it all back. It comes down to an unwillingness to learn, an unwillingness to listen, not to hear. There's a difference. To listen to the other person and comprehend what they're saying, what their position is. Because if you can't repeat back what I just said, is a basic summation, a one sentence summation, then you don't understand what I'm saying. It's a really, really, really good technique to practice for anybody, not just G-Man, not just Ronnie, not just, some of these other guys. Try it sometime. If you don't believe me, try it. Don't get mad when somebody says, okay, what did I just say? Go, okay, here's what I think you said, and then give them the best interpretation, and they go, okay, well, I think you got most of it, but I really want to put an emphasis on this. And if they say, I don't think you understand it, then guess what? You don't understand it. It's not up to you to determine whether that person acknowledges or not you understand their position. It's their position. You don't become the arbiter of how cogent their argument is. Not in this case. So someone can say some nonsense, and you can say, yeah, it's nonsense. But whether you understood it or not is a completely different question. Don't get the two confused. If I say gobbledygook, goo, 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 and I ask you to repeat that, and you say gobbledygoo, doo, 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 that's not what I just said. I'm trying to break this down as basic as I can. because there seems to be some wires crossed, or again, that cup might be too full for some folks to learn. So don't talk about not being able to learn, or excuse me, don't talk about people not being able to teach and people being unwilling to allow others to learn when you don't present yourself in a manner that is conducive toward learning. Don't forget, some of us have had to help teach classes. Some of us have had to tutor. Some of us have had to help instructors teach the class in middle class. So some of us might understand what makes a good student by being a student. Some of us might know what it feels like to feel like you're the idiot in the class. Some of us might know what it feels like to think that everyone else thinks they're a fucking idiot, no matter whether they're in a classroom or not. I've been there. I've been in all those places. But I worked to the point that I don't have to feel like that anymore. But I didn't do that by blaming other people for my failures. I didn't do that by casting aside what people were saying as far as their criticisms of me. I did not get to where I am by being sensitive, by rejecting the notion that I have more to learn, by rejecting this idea that maybe there are people who know way more than me and that I need to sit down for a second and open my mind and close my damn mouth and my beard. So it is what it is. It says, warning, if you can read this, then if you can read this sign, you are standing way too close to me and invading my personal space, so back off. So, yeah, it does say back off, because I like my personal space. So, and Sabella, I don't know, you know, I can't tell you how G-Man might react in a formal setting. I don't think that he can sit down long enough and be taught something. I don't know. I'm not saying that he can't be. I'm just saying I wish I could tell you. I know he can, if he's given an opportunity to get up and move around, he might learn better that way. But I think sitting down and learning isn't G-Man's thing at all. I don't see him doing well in any scenario where he has to stay put for more than 30 minutes. I'm really hesitant about saying that he'd be successful in that scenario. And again, that's not a slight against G-Man. I just don't think that his inclinations will allow him to sit down and absorb information. Because you have to consider something. G-Man puts everything through a filter. Everything he hears comes through a filter. And if he can't put you in a camp, with a theist camp, or even if you're in a theist camp, if you're not in his type of theist camp, then he's not really listening to you. Because for him, just think about something for a second. Remember when we were first talking about this debate? Who did he made the offer? He's made this offer a few times, which I think is pretty interesting. And me and a few people have been talking about it off air. His offer to have like a double debate, like a 2-on-2, which is pretty interesting. I don't think I've seen that before. But I kind of laughed it off. I was like, I don't need that. I'm good. But the people that he mentioned, because he was like, you know what, you can have Scientist Sam and you can have Fiona and whoever. And I'm like, okay, well, I appreciate it, but no thank you. He mentions true empiricism, Neffy. He mentions people who he thinks are knowledgeable on the topics. Mind you, G-Man had said earlier that if we don't understand what Shrew is saying, how can we know he's wrong about the topic? Right? Remember he said that? He said in his last video. If you haven't watched it, you ain't missing much. So if we don't know what he's saying, how can we know? Which is interesting. Because here we go again where, okay, if I am to buy that, which I'm not really, then if G-Man doesn't understand the stuff that we're talking about, how can he speak on any topic outside of religion? How is he speaking on biology? if he doesn't understand what a eukaryote is. So, on the one hand, I'm going to bring so close. He can navigate conversation without knowing the jargon, without knowing the content, without understanding what people are saying. But when it comes to true empiricism, the reverse is true. You don't know. I think that's interesting, don't you? All right, bro, you need to cut down the food, man. Hey, this is the first time, this is my eating window. I'm going to eat now for the next 4 hours, and that's it. I'm hungry as a motherfucker. I don't know if that's jungle jargon or not. Jungle jargon just says stupid shit. Just kind of ignore him. There'd be no way in hell G-Man would be able to sit and take those classes, because you're right. He can't sit down and focus on being taught something. It's true. Like, he just can't. I think that's one of the reasons why he kind of spurns formal education, because you have to, this fucking thing, you kind of have to sit down. And don't get me wrong, I'm not a huge fan of sitting down for an hour and a half either. I hated doing that shit in the military, and I don't like it now that much, but I try to stay interested even during chemistry lectures. And let me tell you, I have to continuously write and speak to the professor in order for me to stay awake. I like chemistry, but anyone who's ever been in a chemistry lecture knows that they can get kind of dry unless you have someone who's animated. Luckily, my instructor is pretty fucking animated. He's a skinny little Filipino guy. He's just kind of bouncing around the classroom. So I laugh because he reminds me of my old first sergeant. Don't tell him I said that. But yeah. You know how difficult it is to learn all the new terms I have every week for my international business class? He'd be screwed with 40 words per week. Yeah, and so Bill, that's what I was saying earlier. It's not just biology. It's not just it's not just any of these fields we're talking about. It's every field has its own jargon. It has its own language. MP and I spent an hour and a half last night talking about a court case, because the court case was being discussed in my Texas government class today. So I looked at the court case. It's full of legalese, full of legal jargon. Some of these words I've never seen in my life. I have no clue. And so I can't walk into that class and pull a true empiricism and assume because I've read a Wikipedia I understand what's going on. I reached out to MP and had him break it down for me, because I'm like, I can't do this. That's my limitation. I know that I don't have MP's background. I know I don't have anywhere close to what I need to really understand what's going on. So that's why I did what I did. And it'd be nice to have G-Man actually do that, to say, you know what, here's the argument I'm trying to make. I don't understand this, what they're saying about these eukaryotes. What I said, because if G-Man wanted me to help him make an argument, I don't give a shit. I still think he's wrong, but I wouldn't turn him away because I disagree with him. That'd be stupid. There's plenty of people who would help him make his argument. But I'm going to go ahead and end this. I will say that our good friend Shani is now calling G-Man gay. I'm not sure if she's deleted this video yet. The one she had up the other night where she did a Q&A and she was calling G-Man gay. And she was asking me to agree. Shani, quit that shit. Calling Rev gay. That shit ain't cool. I know there are people fucking with Rev about him being gay. I don't know that man's sexual preference. I don't think G-Man's gay. I'll just say that. I don't know Red. He might have downloaded already, because it was a funny one. Because I was like, how about, you let Rev be Rev. Maybe he didn't want a fucking monogamous relationship. I'm like, get off that man's nuts. I understand he's sending you all kind of crazy stuff that a friend really wouldn't send, but if he's just not, if he's just not into you, he's not into you. I maybe just feel sorry for you. But I mean, she was going off the fucking rails calling G-Man gay, and that guy wouldn't want a woman with big ass and titties and all this kind of stuff. And I'm just like, holy fuck. Like, look. May fuck with some of the dudes, but, I don't think either one of them gay. I think Rev is reclusive as fuck, which I think Rev would agree. But just because they don't want to fucking date Shani, I'm start calling them fucking gay. Like that's just me. But you don't listen to what the fuck I say. Anyway, thank you for those who donated. I've let Miss Webster know, and she sent me a message while I was live earlier, and told me thank you, and she thanks all of you for donating. I did raise the cap on the donations for the Hurricane Harvey relief. If you donate, I send me your question you want me to ask G-Man during the Q&A. I have 12 questions, well, 10 questions now, I believe, or 9. Yeah, 9 questions. Because we already met our $100 goal, so I increased it to $250 for anybody else who wants to donate. And I will ask your question during the Q&A section. Like I said again, I really appreciate those of you who did, because that's the real reason for me to even fucking entertain this debate, because it's not a debate. But it's about something bigger than myself. I can get on fucking line all day long and just monologue, but there are people who were impacted by natural disasters, and I made a promise to myself that when I am in a position to help people in the position that I was in, that I would. I may have to do another one on Irma later, Sabella. Thank you for reminding me, because I think you and Vincent and Redline were impacted by that, and I think a few other people. So if you got an idea, Sabella, I'd be willing to help out with that. G-Man just kind of sprung this on me, so I was like, this is a good opportunity for Harvey stuff. So let me know. I would be more than happy to help you guys out and host a charity for that, and send the funds to Vincent or whoever that could disseminate it. But I am sending these funds to my cousin's wife, and she is giving it to her principal, because that school district has a charity where they're disseminating it between the faculty and the kids who got affected. So once the money hits me, I'm passing along to somebody else, and then they're taking care of that. So Mrs. Webster, I really appreciate you guys. She's a theist, by the way. So yes, this will impact a lot of theists, believe it or not. So on that note, I will see you guys later.